Welcome back to the channel, everybody. If you are a longtime viewer here on the channel, then you know that I enjoy fluorescent rocks and minerals, UV lights. I think it's awesome. It's a cool way to explore rocks and minerals, and it's pretty easy, right? You aim a light at something, you know? It doesn't get much easier than that, but you can infer a lot of information about what it is that you're looking at based upon how they glow. And we are in this kind of cool time period in history where we are seeing lots of advancements in the technology behind these lights. And I'm going to be talking about one of these advancements right here with this guy that I'm holding. But real quick, a very quick primer on this. If you're new to the world of fluorescent rocks and minerals, the basics of it would be you aim a light at a rock. This is a LED light in this case that has a filter in front of the LED bulbs that removes a large portion of the visible light spectrum. So we only have photons coming out that are in the ultraviolet band, the UV band, and those photons hit electrons on the rock. It excites them, they jump orbit, they reflect a different color of light back into your eyeballs, and it's pretty cool. So before we talk about this kind of new light that I have out here in the shop temporarily, we should talk a little bit about what some of the other lights are that I have and kind of why this is a really cool time period. And I have lights that run the spectrum. Let's look at those. There's a lot of high quality UV lights on the market these days. I have lights like, so here, this light here, okay, this is the Mineralite M12. It's about 75 years old. And it's a cool light. If we look at this thing, right, like it has like an old leather luggage handle on it. This thing still works, by the way, which is pretty impressive, but it is a very low power and simple design, but you know, it kind of takes a big square lantern battery and it's just that simple. You just flick the switch and that guy turns on all the way up to something a little more modern, which this is a light that I've never shown here before on the channel. This is my way too cool light, and this is shortwave and long wave, and we'll be using this in some future projects. But even though this is kind of like in my hand, right, like obviously this is a thing that plugs into the wall. So not really that great for field use. However, lights like this can be converted over to be running on battery packs, and there's lights of similar wattage output that do have battery packs. So, but still kind of, it's like the same form factor in that it's like a big thing, but with that big size, the big power output, you get a floodlight, which is very cool to see in person. Next up, we get into handheld lights. These are my lights here. And they all are fantastic. Like the technology now is such that whether you are doing long wave, short wave, mid wave, you have a lot of good options available from many different manufacturers, and they all kind of have the same form factor. And that form factor is just like a normal little light. We do get into some different things when we start talking about batteries, right? Like this guy here is an 18650 rechargeable battery, as an example. And then we also get into some different options for filters, but a lot of the actual LED lights they're for the most part, they're coming from the same manufacturers. So you do kind of get other things as you get up in price points, or you say goodbye to some things as you get down in price points. But the basics of it is light with a little clicky button, the LEDs, and a cool filter. So you have like the ZWB filters, Hoya glass, and then something new to me in this unit right here. But that's kind of the basics of them. Very cool to see that in the past 5 years or so, these have really came into their own. You know, especially in the world of shortwave and midwave, you go back 5 years, a lot of these little handheld LED lights, they're like overheating and stuff. But for the most part now, everybody can play along, and you can get some cool, quality, affordable lights, and you just pick your brand, right? So this is the light in question here. I actually have this on loan. This is not a sponsored video. This was not given to me for free. I have to mail this back, but it's definitely starting to grow on me, and I'm contemplating buying one, but we will talk about that later. What we have here is a full wave UV light from Midnight Minerals. Okay, I like Patrick over there. Patrick's a good guy. He seems very smart on these subjects, way more knowledgeable than me for sure. So, however, he did not build this exact light. This is a Raymond Wu designed light, and it offers some features that you don't get out of your standard kind of UV LED lights that we're so used to, like the shortwave here or this long wave here. So it does have a slightly different filter. This has a ZWB filter, and you can kind of see how dark that is. That eliminates that visible light. And you can also see this has kind of like a purple hue to it in my right hand, and this has a golden hue, right? Kind of a very gold hue to it on my left hand. It's a dichronic filter. Well, I'm probably mispronouncing that. So I know that the specs say that it allows more UV pass through than the ZWBs. I personally cannot see it with my naked eye. Now, they have a lot of like cool tests and machinery, or not machinery, well, they have a lot of cool testing devices to test these things. When I look at my assortment of rocks here under it, it kind of looks the same to my naked eye, although I believe them when they say that. So pretty cool that we have shortwave, midwave, and long wave all in the same housing. Okay, I think that's pretty neat to see, and we'll crack this guy open here. So here you can kind of see the 3 LED lights in their little housing, very similar to this. Like without the filter, it's just a bright white light. A lot of these UV lights, you know, they have the battery, and the way you charge it is, well, you take the battery out. In this case, it's an 18650, and you charge it in a charger like this. It gets plugged into your wall, and that's how that goes for a lot of them. Now, some have started to introduce micro USB-C charging, so you can plug it in like you would your phone, which this has, which I super prefer. Like, as somebody that travels a lot, you know, we're outside doing rockhounding stuff, being able to plug this straight into the power bank that I bring with me is, that's the ticket right there. This has a different battery that I've never seen one of these before, but look at that beefy guy. All right, so this holds, like, I don't even know, it doesn't matter. It holds a big charge, right? Obviously, when it comes to the world of batteries, bigger is better. But one thing that I like about this is I have all these other 18650 batteries. Like, you know, this guy right here. In theory, let's say I own this light. Well, that doesn't cut it, but check this out. They 3D printed a bunch of inserts, okay? So you can pick the insert that you have or that you want and stick it in there, and well, it goes like that. And then you can put your battery in and run those, because I definitely have a bunch of 18650s, and well, you know, if I bought one of these, I would only have this one of whatever this is, 32650. It's inevitable. The challenge of filming fluorescence, making videos about UV lights, things like that, it is definitely difficult because ideally it's in the dark. The range of my camera is nowhere near what the range is of a human eye, but I am filming this on a Sony camera with a Sony 11mm 1.8 lens, which is a little bit of a light bucket, shooting in aperture priority mode. But all right, so one of the cool things that I like with this is when you turn this guy on, right, you can kind of see a little bit of visible light, right? Like you can kind of see a little bit, but you don't really know that it's on, right? Especially if you're clicking it back and forth, maybe you're in an area that's lit. Not ideal, not ideal. This, check that out, right? So the LED indicators, so that's the shortwave on, and now we have the midwave on, and you can kind of see those guys right there glowing through that. You can turn them off, and it gives you a little bit of an update. One thing that I thought was cool, which we've never seen really, but as far as I know, we've never seen this before in a UV light, is the long wave, which is significantly more powerful than the other two. We can ramp this up and down, which is nice. I have a piece of sodalite here, and you can kind of see this guy glowing away. And if we turned off more lights here, we'll do that in a second. You can press and hold and bring it down, because you don't want to overpower the thing. Like, one of the problems that I have with this light is up close, like this, it is way too much for photography. It has a nice pinpoint beam for reaching out, and this does as well, and we're going to test that here. But up close, like I am right here, it's nice to be able to turn down the long wave. So the long wave ramping is a cool feature to have in a light, which we've never seen before up till now. You can see that long wave just ramping as I press and hold it. You can just dial it in to exactly what you want, which I think is, man, that's a great feature to have in any long wave light. I think we're going to see more of that in the future. Here is a piece of willemite and calcite provided to me from, well, it comes from the Sterling mine, but my buddy Sean Stymack of Stymack Engineering was kind enough to give me this rock. It is quite the looker, and I do like using it as an example for people when I show them, well, what I'm about to show you. And some of you might know Sean Stymack because he also makes UV lights, and I have a long wave, short wave, and mid wave light from him, and they're excellent, excellent lights. But let's give this guy a test here, and we'll run up through the spectrum here and check it out. And I think you'll agree that it is cool looking. And there is that short wave. And I'm about like 12 inches away. Short wave, huh? Yeah. Mid wave, not much happening. Same thing with the long wave. You get a little bit. And of course, you know, like I was saying, with I have a fixed ISO on the camera, so if it is quite dim, well, that is why. It is not anywhere near as dim to my naked eye. And if we flip this over to auto ISO, you can see what I'm talking about, right? So that's long wave, and that's maybe a little more comparable to what my naked eye sees. And then back down to the mid wave, that's a little bit more comparable. And then the short wave, which this thing is very reactive to that. And then if we do all three, you get a little bit of everything going on here. One thing that I thought was interesting, and I was curious about with this light, with the three LEDs, is how will they like meet? Okay, so right now we're about 24 inches away from the board here, and as you come in, you have to come in really close, and then you can start to see that the actual individual LEDs. So yeah, I mean, it doesn't take far to be able to get a nice, I guess mixing, would we say mixing of the light. We're going to look at another example real quick before we do some other fun testing here. So this is a slab of a thunder egg given to me by my good buddy, Josh, Oklawaha Boy Rocks, who also has a YouTube channel. And when we met up this past summer, he gave me this rock, which I think is quite cool. So we're going to run through the spectrum on this because this is quite the looker, and you guys know that I love thunder eggs. So we are in auto ISO. 6400 is where it's deciding to be at. Short wave, mid wave, long wave is very white. And let's turn this ISO down because auto ISO, not the ticket for this. That's what I'm talking about. We're doing ISO 250, short wave, throwing that mid wave. Mid wave really brings out some blues in it, which is nice. I like that, and I do like that it is a click away between them. You can really just like pick and choose your poison and choose to mix. So that's short wave and long wave, and we'll turn the long wave down a little bit, and you can get it just what you want. Just what you want. So check it out. We have a piece of sodalite and cyanite on the left, which is long wave reactive, the willemite and calcite on the right, and you are about 6 feet away, and we will just check this out. I'm going to be about a foot behind you, 7 feet away. Now, I like this test, which is super not scientific, but I think this is good because when I take this into a mine or something like that, I'm generally looking at stuff in that kind of distance, so I can kind of gauge what type of reaction we're gonna get. So off with the lights and on with the long wave. The long wave. Yeah, you can see that guy kind of popping right there. Then we'll head over to the short wave. Yeah. Not bad. I mean, it's got some throw to it for sure. I mean, at least plenty for me. I don't know if you would want this if you were looking for, you know, the sodalite and cyanite out on the Great Lakes. You know, you could definitely get a long wave that has more reach probably. I've heard and seen good things about just about all of the big 365 lights. It is wintertime here. It gets really cold out. Going rockhounding at night is not my jam. However, I want to show you this thing outside in nature because it performs perfectly good. I have a rock pile in my backyard. And we're going to go look at that. Here we go. This is just like what it would be like rockhounding out in nature, I guess. My rocky backyard. This big rock is a piece of Clarno Formation sandstone that is filled with fossils, and then a bunch of agates and chalcedony that, well, came out of my backyard. So we're going to now look at these under shortwave. Look at those popping. Obviously, the chalcedony glows bright, bright, bright green. And then that orange of the Clarno Formation sandstone. Midwave. Yeah, kind of similar. Nothing big change there. And then the long wave. Obviously, chalcedony doesn't want to react that well, but that Clarno Formation sandstone is pretty cool, but like with many things, shortwave is king. Before I started making this video, I've had that light for about a week or so, and I did a lot of side-by-side comparisons, just kind of playing around with it, using it, and I have a number of thoughts on the subject, because I love that there's smart people out there developing new products like this and kind of like pushing the envelope of what, I guess, what you can do with a handheld UV light, right? Because you're never going to have a giant like display light level flood in a little handheld thing, right? I don't think we're getting there. However, it is extremely cool to see multi-wave lights like this come to fruition. There are a couple of features that I could see coming in the future. Now, this is just a normal light, normal white light. And you see how it has the little power indicator on there? I think we will see something like that at some point to show you battery life, maybe. Because like, look at the buttons. Look at the buttons here, right? They're not too dissimilar. I think we might see something like that. I think the one thing nobody has made for any UV lights, which I would love, because the way I use these is this thing's going in a backpack and it's floating around in that backpack, jostling as we like hike in somewhere or take it someplace. What I want is a soft silicone stretchy cover that covers that lens. I want that so it can just like on, off, real easy, right? I want some type of way of locking the light so that it doesn't inadvertently turn on in a backpack. Yeah, I know you could take the batteries out, but I don't do that. I don't know if these can get hot enough to like start a fire or melt itself, but I would assume since these do get hot, and that is one thing that I would think we will see, we're going to see a couple of things in the future. I think we're going to see better cooling, so these are not as hot, because even this guy here is like, hot, toasty light. All of these lights get hot, even just like this light. Okay, so this is not a UV light, but we're talking about lights. This is a light that I own, and this is just a little pen light, and I keep this in my pocket. I have for a very long time, but what you might notice about this is that it is titanium. The company that makes this makes lights in copper and brass and titanium and things like that. Are we going to see UV lights utilizing housing, off-the-shelf housings that are kind of like fancy? Probably. Somebody's probably going to do it. I think this is a very cool light. However, the downside to it for me is it's the price, right? Let's be honest. Like, it is not entry level, right? I don't think it is. Maybe it is for you. Maybe you have a lot more money than I do. At the time in which I am filming this, which is December 26th, $375 for this light. I guess, if I knew that I wanted to do UV stuff, or maybe I just had a big display light or something, and I was looking for my first handheld and I knew I wanted all 3 waves, I would probably go for this. I'd probably go for it. But since I already own other UV lights, like, short, mid, and long, I would have a hard time justifying the price. That said, I do like it, and I do want it. It is very convenient just to like flip your finger between the buttons. I look forward to seeing what we're going to be doing in the UV space in 2 years, right? I think we're going to be seeing very affordable LED long wave display lights that are affordable. I think still, for shortwave, those things get hot. You have low pressure mercury bulbs and they get hot. They need fans, right? They use an abundance of power. Big floodlights are still kind of relegated to, well, displays, big things, like this. I can plug this into like a power pack and bring it with me. And then that's fun, and maybe we'll do that in the future. But for the most part, I feel like this is kind of a shop light and a small display light. So, yeah, let me know your thoughts. I think the tech is cool. Maybe it's for you, maybe it's not for you. I have to send this light back to Patrick. I do want to thank Patrick. I appreciate the loaner light. It was very cool to check out and kind of do a little bit of comparison and see how some of this technology has changed and where we're maybe going with it. Well, if you guys like this video, I have a whole playlist here on the channel of different UV related videos and fluorescence and going rock hounding and all that stuff. Go check those out. I think you'll like it. And with that said, we will leave this one here, and I will catch you in the next video.